You've come to the place where your desire has been born, not yet manifested, and you're loving that moment of incompletion. Now we're just pushing it too far, aren't we? It will be nice when you can wholeheartedly, unequivocally answer yes to that. When you can say, I understand I am eternally incomplete. And even though there is something that I really, really want, I'm all right in its incompletion because I'm savoring the process. I am eagerly anticipating that which is to come without being upset about it not yet having come. Okay so far? I have this thing happening in my body. I wish it were not there, but I am eagerly anticipating coming into vibrational alignment with my desire. And so my mood or attitude is one of optimism, not pessimism. It's one of happy anticipation, not worry or concern. Yes? When you get that, when you understand that if you hold a desire for something and you are in this moment feeling different from the desire, then you are in resistance to your own desire. And your desire cannot be. It does not matter how much hard work you apply. If your mood or attitude, which is another way of saying if the way you feel, which is another way of saying if your vibrational countenance, which is another way of saying if you have a belief that does not match your desire is on hold for now. Not because Source isn't answering it, but because you are vibrationally different from it and you're not letting it in. So, we call this gathering the art of letting it in, the art of allowing, the art of discovering how to be a vibrational match to my desire, which means if I'm eager, if I'm happy, I'm a match. If I'm worried or concerned or disappointed, I'm not. If I'm feeling love or appreciation, I'm a match. If I'm feeling fear or anger or frustration or guilt or blame or loneliness or any of those other things, there are really only two emotions. One feels good and one feels bad. But you call them all sorts of different things. And if you're having one of the bad ones, that which you call not feeling good, then you have some vibrational resistance going on, which only means you have a habit of thought, that's all a belief is, that is contradicting your own desire. It's nice when you realize that you have the ability to choose thought. And when you choose a thought, the thought vibrates, which is what makes up your vibrational countenance right now. So if you understand that you can choose, and more importantly, if you practice choosing, then you reach the place that under any and all conditions you can choose. Most don't choose deliberately. Most choose sort of by default. And what we mean by that is you picked up vibrational patterns along your way. Something happened when you were 2 or 3 or 5 or 20 or 40 or 50, or something happened along the way which got your attention. And you gave it enough of your attention, you practiced it long enough during the time that it was happening, that it sort of got a vibrational toehold. In other words, it's something that you talked about that you continue to talk about. Creative process is 3 steps. The first step, you must decide what you want. A desire is born. That happens without you having to be consciously focused about it. The entire universe is established to help you discern preference. It happens on all levels of your being. It can't not happen. It's happening. Step number 2 is not your work. That's source energy, universal forces, law of attraction, all that is responding to the desire that you have focused. Good word. Step 3 is where all of your work is, really. Step 3 is you must be in the receiving mode. And that's where a seminar like this may come in handy, because this seminar is pointed toward helping you to identify what your vibrational offering is right now. And your emotions are these wonderful moments in guidance to let you know your vibrational harmony or disharmony with who you are in your own desire. So, when you are loving someone, you are so in vibrational harmony with who you really are that that love just radiates through you. You are full of yourself. When you feel fear, that means you're focused upon something that has caused you to activate a vibration that is in such discord, not only with who you are, but with what you right now want, that your warning bell or your guidance system is letting you know there is vibrational discord here. We call it resistance. So there is the allowing of the source energy to flow through you toward the completion of your desire, or there is the resistance that does not allow the energy to flow through you toward the completion of your desire. But you have your hand on that switch. You are the allower or the resistor, and your emotions tell you which you're doing right now. It's easy once you understand the formula. When you feel good, you're allowing good. When you don't feel good, you are not allowing good. Now, can you hear that? We didn't say when you feel good, you are allowing good, and when you feel bad, you are allowing bad, although it may translate into your experience in that way. There is only a source of well-being which you are allowing or not. And if you are not allowing it, then you translate that into bad experiences. You say, a bad thing happened to me, I got run over by a truck, or a bad thing happened to me, cancer got into my body, or a bad thing happened to me, my lover ran away, or my fortune has been lost. And we say, bad things don't happen, but you can resist good things. And sometimes you get into such habits of thinking the way others are thinking. In other words, as your nation or your city or your family goes through a crisis and focuses upon that crisis, can you imagine how much vibrational practicing you're doing in the middle of that crisis? And so what we are suggesting is that while there is a varied palette that you can choose from, and while there are certainly things that have happened and maybe even are happening that when they get your attention you don't feel good, you don't have to be stuck. You do not have to be stuck with those things. You do not have to be stuck with those things being your dominant vibration, dominant thought. It's a good way to approach this because that's what beliefs are. They're habits of thought that have been so practiced that they become dominant vibrations within you. So how do you know what your dominant vibrations are? Well, they have a lot of emotion around them. When you have a strong, positive or negative emotion, in that moment, it is a powerful thought. It is a powerfully attracting thought. You have many dominant thoughts or dominant vibrations that are serving you enormously well. Look at the way you live. Look at your lifestyle. Look at your expectation. You're doing very well. But you have some thoughts that are not serving you. And those are the ones that we are wanting to help you to address. Sometimes we see you actually expecting your physical decline, anticipating that as you move through time, that there is nothing else for you to do. You've reached your point where you were increasing your vigor and increasing your stamina and increasing your physical beingness. And then you believe that you reach this point, and it's fun to listen to you because you all think it's at a different point in life. And then you reach that pinnacle, and then it's just this long slide down into decrepit death. And what we're wanting you to understand is that your vitality and your clarity and your physical prowess is about your vibrational allowing. It's about resisting or allowing, period. But as you become statisticians who review the statistics that have been gathered, and because you are problem solvers, which means you're often looking at the problem and amplifying it in a very disproportionate manner, what happens is something that is actually astonishing. In an environment where well-being is huge in proportion to not well-being, you have managed to feel more vulnerable than you do vital. As we chew with Esther about this a little bit, and she watches different things happening, and she feels her own response to things, and sometimes a response that she knows is not serving her, and then she'll get to thinking about it, and she will get all huffed up about it, and she will say to us, I can damn well choose what my own dominant vibration is. And we say, well, we would like it to feel a little more positive to you than that, but that's a good starting place. In other words, you're in stage one when you say, I'm going to choose how I vibrate. And so that's what we want to talk about with you here today, because when you are really choosing what your vibration is, then you are really choosing your state of allowing. And when you are choosing your state of allowing, then well-being must be your experience. You want it, you've been preferring it, you've been letting the universe know endlessly that it is that which you want. Now all you have to do is get into a vibrational habit of thought where you let it in. That's all. And it's much easier than you might think at first. So toward that end, we have devised a game we are calling virtual reality. Sometimes you think it is like creative visualization, and it is in a way, but there are some differences in virtual reality because the game or process of virtual reality has only one intention, and that is, ready? For you to practice a thought with the singular intention of making a vibration of your choice dominant. That's all it is. It's practicing vibration and making it dominant. It's saying, this thought feels so good to me, and I'm going to hold my mind there long enough that this thought becomes an easy thought for me. Because that's what a dominant thought is. A dominant thought is an easy thought. It's a thought that you come upon easily. And you know why it's an easy thought? Because law of attraction is supporting it. In other words, you get started on a little negative thought and you hold it for a little while, the little negative thought gets bigger. And you hold it a little longer and other people start talking to you about it. And you hold it a little longer and books and magazines and avalanches of information begin to come in about it. And you hold it a little longer and you begin running into people that are having the experience. And you hold it a little longer and you begin to be one of those people having the experience. And you hold it a little longer and you join groups where everybody's having those experiences. And then you become one who believes that that's the way it is. And we say, oh boy, you didn't need to go there. And if it is a belief that serves you, then it was worth holding that thought and getting there on purpose quickly. But if it is a thought that does not serve you, then wouldn't you just as soon not go there? So, virtual reality, you have a stance like a movie director where you are setting the scene. We would suggest that the first thing you do in this 30-second virtual reality is decide where it will be, what time of year it is, what time of day it is, what it feels like in the atmosphere around you, what your mood is, who else is there, doesn't have to be anybody, could be all alone, how they feel, and then a quick exchange between you. And what we notice is that as you set a scene and you pick a place you think you'd like to be or you know you'd like to be, and you make it the time of year that feels the very best to you, and you make it the time of day that feels the very best to you, that will conjure a mood within you. You'll feel the mood begin to bubble. And as the mood begins to bubble within you and you put words to the mood feels stronger. And as you decide who else is there, the mood may be enhanced and it may be diminished. That's why we encourage you to only choose enhancing others to be with you. And then exchange a few words and then leave. In other words, the process is get in, feel good, get out. Esther noticed as she began playing with it that she could get in pretty easily. She could feel good pretty easily. And if she didn't get out quick, sometimes she felt less good if she stayed longer. Because the longer she stayed, things felt like they needed to be reformed. Another thing that we are wanting to encourage you is let this virtual reality be for one purpose only, and that is to choose a vibration and make it dominant. Don't use your virtual reality as the place where you try to fix things that are broken. Because if you take an issue to virtual reality, you take the vibration of the issue into virtual reality, and now virtual reality cannot possibly be what it is intended to be. You get a sense of that? You understand about law of attraction, don't you? That which is likened to itself is drawn. Just like your radio signals. If you've got your tuner set at 98.6, you cannot hear what's on 101 FM. In other words, you have to set your tuner to the channel that you are wanting to receive. And law of attraction is about that. You must be vibrationally acclimated to the vibrational frequency that you are wanting to experience. You are much more electronic or electrical than you are anything else. So there are two words that we want you to focus upon as you're thinking about virtual reality. The first is dominant. What is my dominant vibration? You know what it is. In other words, when we talk about the most significant subjects in your life, you can feel what your dominant vibration is. When you think about dollars, do dollars feel like fun and fancy and freedom and exhilaration and adventure? Or do dollars feel like struggle and worry and hard work? You can tell, you know. And while you may sometimes think a little bit of all of that, you can feel which leaning you have. When you think about your dominant relationship, does it feel like exhilaration and fun and freedom? Or does it feel like struggle and hard work? When you think about your body, does it feel hearty and sure? Or does it feel tentative? Do you worry? You can tell.